Before we begin, we want to acknowledge that some stories and discussions in this episode of Radiant Resilience may touch on sensitive and potentially triggering topics. These may include themes of terminal illness and the passing of loved ones, high-risk pregnancy and related health complications, workplace stress and legal issues, infant illness including NICU and PICU stays, open heart surgery in a newborn. Our goal is to share real-life experiences in a respectful and empathetic manner, offering insights into the complexities of the human spirit and the journey towards resilience. However, we understand that some content may be difficult for listeners. We encourage you to prioritize your well-being and discretion when deciding to listen. Please remember this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice or support. If you find yourself needing assistance, we urge you to seek help from qualified professionals or trusted support systems. Your mental and emotional health is important to us. Thank you for your courage and for joining us in a space of understanding and compassion. Welcome back to Radiant Resilience, everyone. I have a very special guest today, my good friend, Anna. The story she's going to tell us today, I don't know much about, so this is all going to be pretty new to me as well. But after weathering 2 years of relentless challenges and setbacks, she emerged from the storm with resilience and determination. Despite the chaos, she found solace in managing situations to the best of her ability and controlling her reactions to adversity. Amongst the barrage of bad news, there were a few silver linings that could be found. However, amidst the chaos, a glimmer of hope emerged, promising the end of the tumultuous chapter of her life. Now stepping into a new stress-free chapter, she's filled with a sense of liberation and excitement for what lies ahead. All right, Anna, I'm going to let you get this one started. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, first of all, before we even start with that, I may cry at a few points, so just...
That's okay. That's allowed here.
Okay, yeah, I just need a second to get past it, and then I can usually regroup and keep going.
That's okay. I'll probably cry with you.
So the story starts at the point where I got engaged. And at this point in my life, I was working full-time behind the chair, and I also worked part-time at a shipping company that's very popular, who had a union, and we had free health insurance. The free health insurance, being single and a hairstylist, is huge.
Yeah, huge. That is huge. So you were doing both jobs at the same time. You were being a hairstylist and then both part-time then, or were you doing hair full-time?
I was doing hair more full-time.
Okay.
I didn't work a full 40 hours. I did 30 plus.
Okay.
And then I would work at the shipping company. Oh my gosh, it was 20 hours a week or less if I could manage to get work less. Anyways, that's just a minor detail, but it is important in the story.
Okay.
I had just bought a house with my now husband. We got engaged.
And how old were you around this time period?
Oh my God, that's a great question. Like 27.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and we had remodeled the house.
Okay.
Anyways, I wrote down notes, which I'm also reading off of, just a heads up.
No worries. That's good.
So now we're getting into like wedding planning.
Which is chaotic.
It's chaotic, which I knew, but I was also under the impression that it was a lot of fun. And it was ending up being not fun and just super stressful. At one point, one of my friends and I had picked, who was also newly engaged, the same weekend to get married.
Oh no.
Yeah, but she had already put down the deposits. So.
Oh no. Were you guys in each other's wedding?
No.
Oh.
We were not. But still, you want to go to your friend's wedding, and
yeah, absolutely.
You want all of our friends were going to be at our wedding.
Yeah, sure.
So anyway, so that was like a little bit stressful because then I had to go and pick another weekend, and you know how it can be sometimes.
Oh yes. Yeah. My sister is currently planning her wedding for this summer, so I'm like reliving all the things.
Yeah. And it just, I don't know. it just wasn't as much fun as I had pictured. But life goes on.
Yeah.
While we're in the midst of wedding chaos, which everybody knows the pains of, my grandfather got diagnosed with cancer. And the importance in this is my grandparents, they had a huge part in raising my brother and I.
Oh,
I know. And at this point in time, grandparents raising their grandchildren wasn't really a thing. A lot of people told them that they were crazy for everything that they were doing for us.
really?
Yeah. Because
God,
like they should have been enjoying their retirement more.
no. Yeah. Is this your mom's side or your dad's side?
Is my mom's side.
Okay. Ugh.
So, anyways, it's so they're like super special to us because they didn't have to do all of that and they did.
Yeah.
Anyways, so they were like our rock.
Sounds like they
Okay.
were pretty great, not just grandparents, but parents also, right? Because when they step into that role, they're now parents. They're not really the fun grandparents that they
Yes,
maybe
actually,
want to be.
and it was funny because we could see the divide a little
Hmm.
bit, like where they were parenting us, but they were being like the fun grandparents to our cousins. They were also
Oh,
like
that's really tough.
the epicenter to the family. So people were always in and out of the house.
Hmm.
However, they did it in a way where it worked. I didn't feel different. I felt more
Okay.
connected to them.
Oh, that's good. Okay, good.
My brother and I never felt like we were getting the shaft.
Okay, good. That's
We just, our little cousins were around all the time.
okay. Well, that probably made
And it
things
was
a
fun.
little bit more fun too.
It was a lot of fun. So, anyway, so my papa, he gets diagnosed with cancer, which is some rough news,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And nobody's really excited about it, but we don't know because people do get cancer diagnosis when they're older and they do survive. So
Yeah, that's
we
true.
had a lot of hope. So, anyways, we're going through all the steps in that, and then we find out now my grandmother has a cancer spot.
Oh no. At the
So, like
same time-ish then.
at the same, this was like a month or two later.
Oh man.
So now we're like double concerned, and it's not fun, but at the same time, still hopeful because maybe these are easily treatable.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going through the weeds of both of them.
Yeah.
And in the midst of this, my brother gets a questionable medical diagnosis. And at this point in time, my brother lives with my grandparents.
Okay.
So
What's the age difference between you and your brother?
we're a year and a half apart.
Okay. Yeah. So he's in his late 20s then too,
Yeah.
and probably just, yep, trying to get life going as an adult. And then shoot.
Yep.
Okay. So all three of them in this house. Oh.
All three of them in this house now have like big medical worries.
Mhm.
And my brother doesn't really want to say anything to my grandparents because they're already stressed out about their own health and he doesn't want to put anything additional onto his plate.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, onto their plate. So
Yeah.
now the doctors said that he needs to go in for a surgery so that they can get like a biopsy and all this stuff.
Oh, wow.
And my poor brother, not wanting to say anything, he goes to stay at a friend's house. And my grandmother thinks that he's mad at them.
Oh, no.
And she's, I don't know what happened. And we don't want to
Oh,
tell her that we're worried about my brother's health, but we also are trying to be like, no, he's not mad at you at all. Like, you, nothing is wrong. So that was funny. And then he got the results back a couple days later. He came back to the house because he was done recovering. And he was like, no, everything's fine. Here's what happened. And,
oh, so he
you know,
did fill them in then.
yes.
Okay, good.
So there was that. And I also wanted to give you guys a little like overview. At this point in time, my grandparents had always lived a very active lifestyle. Like
Mhm.
they volunteered at their church. My grandfather was out riding motorcycles 2 years prior to this. The
Wow.
only reason he gave up his motorcycle was because he didn't trust his vision,
Oh, wow.
not because he didn't feel he could physically handle the bike. It was
Yeah.
because
So how old were they at this time then?
at this point in time, he was 80
Okay.
and she was, or about 80, I can't remember exactly. So she was about 75.
Okay. Yeah. Up there to be doing all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Like he had also recently fallen off the top of a shed roof because he was trying to fix it and he didn't tell anybody
Oh my gosh.
because he knew that we were going to yell at him for getting up
Amber.
on top of a roof.
Oh
Like my brother
man.
could
Did
have
he
done
hurt
that for him,
himself or was he okay?
He was fine. We didn't know.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Good thing he was fine.
He was quite the character, by the way. He was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, sounds like it.
So anyway, so now we're navigating their treatments, which is stressful. And then my grandfather starts to go downhill,
Mm,
which was obviously that was very difficult.
yeah.
Um, and he had bladder cancer. And bladder cancer it's pretty easily treatable.
Hmm.
And it doesn't really make sense why he's going downhill.
Okay.
Well, it turns out he had a very rare form of bladder cancer that only there's 300 cases in the US per year.
Wow.
And this happens to be a very aggressive cancer.
Oh no.
Yeah, that was
So
um
had they caught it early, like when you guys
they
first found out about it?
they caught it early enough, but then they didn't act fast enough.
Okay, because they didn't think
And
it was as serious, maybe?
yes, and then by the time they found out that it was really serious, it was too late to really do anything.
Mm.
Yeah. And anyways, in the midst of all this, we make our wedding plans.
I was
Like
gonna
we have
say, you're
a
still making wedding plans during
still
all
making
this.
wedding plans.
Oh
So
man.
that gets solidified. I have to say though, my husband was a rock star in this because he definitely did the majority of the heavy lifting.
Oh, that's so kind.
It was really nice. And we had an amazing wedding, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So now my grandmother's going for treatments. My papa is in and out of the hospital. Things aren't going well. And then he passes away.
Oh man. So did they give you any heads up? Obviously, you knew that the bladder cancer was pretty bad. Probably not going to go great, but did they give you a time frame? Did you
I
expect it when
don't
it happened or not really?
I don't remember getting a timeline, but the progression, we knew it was coming.
Mm.
He was on hospice. He did get to die peacefully in the house.
Oh, yeah.
But like all of that was just really hard.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
Lots of people have lost loved ones to
Sure.
this kind of stuff. So I know a lot of people can relate to this. It's hard no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was almost a little bit more so even than just losing like a grandparent because that was like your parent.
Yes. And
Ugh.
that was a whole other thing to navigate because people didn't
Mm,
understand because they're like, "Oh, your grandparent died. I'm really sorry," but they didn't really understand that this was more like my
yeah,
parent dying.
it was deeper.
Yeah.
Ugh. Oh my goodness.
So, anyways, so now that happens, and then also related to this, I had a little bit of minor drama at the shipping company
Uh-oh.
related to the passing, which I'm sure lots of people have dealt with that in their workplace too. Which it just doesn't.
Were they
It,
not very understanding about you needing time off or?
oh, you know what? It was more just I said, "Hey, here's." I didn't really tell them what was going on until the very end, and then I'm
Okay.
like, "Hey, here's what's going on." And if in the whole time I had worked there, I'd never gotten a phone call at work.
Hmm.
And I said, just so you know, if I get a phone call, like I need to know. And
Yeah.
they waited until my shift was over to tell me I got a phone call.
Oh, so whoever was talking to you needed to call work.
My mom called my work to say, hey, you gotta,
And they didn't tell you until after your shift.
until I
Oh
finished my
my
job.
gosh. I would be livid. That is
I was livid. I did go specifically and address that person and let him know my disappointment in him.
good job.
Yeah.
And you're like one of the nicest people I know, so I can imagine how that went.
Yes. Yes.
Oh man.
But
Oh, okay. So you find out
anyway,
at work.
so I had that. But then I was also really proud of myself for standing up for that and hoping that it would help the
Absolutely.
next person. Because if they did that to me, they're going to do it to somebody else.
Oh yeah, for sure. Or they've probably done it before. So,
There's also that.
hmm.
Yeah, I probably wasn't the first. Okay, so now my grandmother's still going through her treatments.
Hmm.
And that obviously not easy, but she was only doing radiation, which I feel for cancer treatments is a whole lot easier.
Okay.
And she ended up doing well.
Okay. And
And
what did you want to say what type of cancer she had, or do you
so
not
she
want
had
to?
a couple of cancers, and I
Okay.
honestly can't remember this one specifically.
Okay. Okay.
At the time, I knew what it was, but
Sure.
now it's a
Yeah.
blur.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, so she does well, and then she gets a clear scan.
Oh, that's
And
great.
this was a month before my wedding.
Okay, so that's good news.
Yeah. And I'll never forget it. The doctor called her at 7 in the morning and she called me to tell me the news. And I was like, oh my gosh, grandma, we're going to celebrate. When I get out of work tonight, I'm going to bring over a little bottle of wine and we can have a glass.
Yeah.
I got on with my day. And
Mhm.
also, for context, we lived in Connecticut.
Okay.
And little bit later, news broke about the Sandy Hook shooting,
Oh gosh, yeah.
which was
That was in
horrific.
the same day as that.
Same day.
Oh man. Way high and then way low.
And then way low.
Ugh.
And I did still bring a bottle of wine over and we had a glass, but nobody was the news of the day was just
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now we're all after the Sandy Hook stuff. It's time to like move on. And now I get married and we did a destination wedding at an all-inclusive resort in the Caribbean.
Oh, how lovely.
Oh, it was amazing. So here's like a silver lining. We had the most amazing wedding week. Um,
Yay.
And my grandmother came. She was like, "Oh my gosh, your wedding was like a fairy tale."
Oh, good. So she was able to travel. So that's
She was
good.
able, and actually, after my wedding, she went on a few more trips. She went to visit one of my uncles who lives in Florida.
Okay.
And then after that, let's see, after that trip, I found out that I was pregnant with my
Okay.
oldest,
Yes,
and we're all excited.
of course.
But then we find out that my baby is measuring small.
Okay.
And one of the doctors just told my husband and I, pointing, like, there's a 50-50 shot you're going to miscarry.
Oh my gosh. How early in the pregnancy was this or late or
This
whatever?
was within the first trimester.
Okay. Ooh,
So obviously, that's not the news you want to hear, but
absolutely not.
you just
Yeah.
have to ride that wave.
Okay.
So then let's see. Oh, because she's measuring small, I am now considered high risk.
Mm.
I have a high risk pregnancy.
So how small?
So
I don't know a lot about that specifically, but she must have been so small that it was a big concern then.
it was a big enough concern. They kept saying that they went back and they're like, when was your last period? Do we have
Like they
our,
thought maybe you were earlier in the pregnancy, maybe.
or no, they thought maybe I was later on in the pregnancy.
Oh, geez. Okay.
They thought maybe we had a miscalculation. Maybe we need to redo the dates.
Okay.
So, anyways, but they then, nope, my calculations were correct.
Hmm.
So they said, all right, we want you to be on light duty. And at the shipping company, you have to be able to lift 70 pounds.
Yeah.
Now, this is a problem, but we're in the 2000s here. So I told the shipping company about this and I gave them a note from the doctor.
Yeah.
And they said to me that I need to take a temporary leave of absence because I can't fulfill my work duties,
Oh, good Lord.
which is a big deal because I lose my health insurance.
And
That's
you're
the whole,
pregnant, so
I'm
you're
pregnant.
a high risk pregnancy, so you need that.
That's the whole reason I work there
Yeah.
is for the health insurance. So just to put it in per another perspective, the health insurance is free and it was really good.
Oh, good.
Even though I sacrificed a lot of sleep to have that health insurance, it was fully worth it because
So was your husband working at the time? Did he have health insurance benefits at all?
yes, he
Okay.
did, but you had to pay for those and normal health insurance cost is a lot of money.
Oh yeah, don't get me started on health insurance. We'll go off on I could do a whole podcast episode just on health insurance.
Right?
It's
Exactly. Exactly.
absolutely a joke. So
It,
I totally understand.
yeah. So yeah. So this is just not good. It's obviously incredibly stressful. And I had to figure out how to fight this because I got to get back in there.
Mhm.
So in the meantime, my grandma takes a trip and she goes to Rome.
How lovely.
It
Yes.
it was. She went with like my mom and my aunt and my cousin. They had
Oh,
like just an
fun.
amazing time. Oh, and
Mhm.
she went with my other aunt too. So it was a great trip.
Nice.
But on the way back, on the flight back, her legs swelled.
Oh no.
and it swelled so big to where she couldn't move that one leg without assistance.
Oh, wow.
It's random
Okay.
and very concerning.
Yeah, for sure.
And now this is in the midst of me trying to figure out how I am going to get off of this leave of absence
Mm,
so that I can get my medical insurance back.
yeah.
The doctors are now trying to figure out why her legs swelled. They're like putting stents in, they're looking for clots.
She made it all the way back, I'm
Yeah,
assuming. Yeah. Okay. So she made it back. And was it on the airplane they were swelling, or was it when she got
yeah.
back afterwards?
No, I think it was while she was on the plane, it started to swell.
Okay. Okay. So she comes back and then she's doing all these doctor's appointments trying to figure it out.
Yep. And her mobility is down because I know she went into a nursing home around this time
Okay.
because she couldn't walk around without
Yeah.
assistance because the other leg was normal and that one leg was really big.
Oh, man.
So they finally get down to this, and it took a few weeks, but we found out that it was cancer. It was a tumor that was strangling an artery.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so that's not good.
Yeah. What do they do about that? Can they remove that surgically?
No.
Okay.
But now also the cancer is back,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is very upsetting news.
Sure.
And then I actually end up getting my way back to work at the shipping company so I can resume my
Okay.
health insurance.
Okay.
But now I'm getting a lot of hostility from management.
Oh, geez.
And we had the union steward, and I'll never forget, we went into this meeting and you really can't do anything for her because she's pregnant. And they were like, we absolutely cannot. And I just remember his jaw hit the floor. Like, even
Oh,
he could not believe what they were saying. I also was receiving hostility from two female coworkers, both of
about
which
what?
are mothers,
Okay.
which also just complicated the situation.
Okay. Yeah. Drama at work is never fun.
It's never fun, but they specifically were causing trouble naming me and my quote unquote condition of being pregnant.
Did they work for this company when they were pregnant?
No, they did not.
Yeah. Wow. They probably
Because,
worked somewhere. Come
yeah.
on. Oh.
But anyways, those two. But
Were they being mean to you, or were they
they
like
weren't
bullying
specifically being
you,
mean
or?
to me. So at the shipping company, the shift I was on, we would get all the packages that needed to be delivered today, processed and onto the package cars so that they could
Okay.
be delivered.
Okay.
So one of the jobs that we would do is as things were being unloaded onto a conveyor belt, we would stand at another end with there was a whole like computer setup, and we would scan the packages and place a label on them,
Okay.
which was a that's a great job for me to do if I'm on light duty, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. So another key piece of information here is that I was one of the very few people who worked on this shift at the time that could scan and press a sticker on in both directions.
Oh,
So it didn't
nice.
matter which side of the belt I was on.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I was
Nice.
one of two people that could do this at the time.
Okay. So you were a little ambidextrous and you could just punch out a few more than the other people?
Yeah, basically. But they liked doing that job and they didn't want to give it up.
Mm,
They didn't want to be forced or told to go do something that was, we'll say, a little bit more manual labor
yeah.
so that I could do that.
Okay. Yeah. They wanted to put the stickers on.
They really like their stickers.
Oh gosh. So were they like gossiping about you and frust?
No, they would just put a stink up to management if they were asked to go and do another job.
Okay.
And that's when they would say, what are you going to move Anna down here to do this? And
Oh
make,
my gosh.
really?
Ugh. Just go do your
Anyway,
job. Like, why?
like it encompasses everything.
Everything. Yeah. And your like being pregnant and being high risk pregnancy was temporary. It wasn't going to be for forever. So I don't understand why they couldn't give you that grace for that just short time period. Come on.
There was some other women that
That's good.
they were amazing. And they would say, no, how about I go do that? And Anna does this instead.
Oh, that's really
So
good.
I did have a lot of like really amazing allies while I was there, but it was just those two women that specifically.
Yeah, which just makes it more difficult to go to work because you don't want to deal with drama. You just want to go to work, work, and go home.
Dude,
Like,
let me tell you, when I was there, all I wanted to do was get my work done as fast as I could so that I could GTFO and take a nap before I went to the salon.
yes. So were you doing this like an overnight shift or early
This
morning
was
or?
in the morning, so I would go in around 4:30 and I
Okay.
would get out around 8.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's early. I am not a morning person, so props to you for doing that.
Hey, I'm actually not a morning person either.
I guess I might do it for free health insurance also.
Yeah, it is highly motivating.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so anyways, but my whole point in like that side of the story was just to say that I was very distracted about like with everything that was going on with my grandmother, with figuring out health insurance. And now I have this whole situation complicating things.
Yeah.
I did consult with a lawyer and got coaching so that I knew how to handle management effectively.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I did not, I know that I did have a lawsuit worthy case on my hands,
Yeah.
but at the time I just did not have the capacity to.
Sure. That would just be another thing. And you're already, again, a high risk pregnancy, already having the stuff with your grandma, the stuff with work, add a lawsuit into it. That would have been so much.
Yeah. So I kept that off my plate. The coaching worked, it worked out really
Good.
well.
Good.
So now we're coming up to the 20-week ultrasound,
Mhm.
which is when they do the anatomy scan. It's a really big one. A lot of people will find out what they're having at the
Okay.
20-week ultrasound. If they don't find out in blood work previously, this is the next time you would find out.
Mhm.
So at this 20-week appointment, we get bad news.
Oh, no.
So I had skipped doing genetic testing because once if you get bad news, then you have to do something about it, right? And I was like, I'm just going to have the baby that I'm going to have. But now I get this news that the baby has heart concerns,
Okay.
and often cardiac issues are related to Down syndrome and stuff that is much worse than Down syndrome.
Okay.
I leave this 20-week ultrasound, finding out we were having a girl.
Yay.
Not that's even important. It did not matter what we were having.
Yeah. Sure. At that point in time, you had gotten bad news too.
Anyways, so it sounded like Down syndrome could have been like one of the better things that she could have.
Okay.
But I did do the blood work then. And I remember it took 8 days to get back.
Oh my gosh, that's the longest 8 days of your life, I'm
I
sure.
cried for
Oh,
8 days
oh my gosh.
because I was so worried. I also, my grandma's in the nursing home at this point, and I visit her every day.
Okay.
And I decided to keep it from her
Okay.
because I didn't want to put that on her plate. We're worried about all her cancer stuff.
Yeah,
And
for
she's
sure.
in a nursing home, which is a really unpleasant place to be.
Yeah, my grandma just recently went into a nursing home and I go visit her too, but it's rough. It's more hospital like than I thought it was going to be. Like I
Yeah.
pictured, and my grandma's in a really nice one too. And I'm like, it's still like their rooms are teeny tiny. They have the beds they sleep in are like hospital beds, but it's hard because when they need that 24-hour care or a lot more, my grandma has dementia. So like
Uh,
she needs 24-hour care. So she is where she needs to be. Yeah, I think the movies and stuff make it look like it's like a really nice little cute apartment that they live in at these places.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, actually, and at night, because I would often go visit my grandma after I would get out of the salon.
Hmm.
And at night, the dementia patients, they get
Yeah.
more unsettled.
Yeah, the sundowners. Yeah. So we've only been
Yeah.
able to go visit her in the mornings. Like we try to go at 10 or 11 in the morning and have lunch with her and then leave before 1 or something because
Yeah,
yeah, it's really hard at night. So
it is. And then, but I also felt bad leaving my grandmother there every night
Oh,
because I knew what she was going like
yeah.
to listening, and
Yeah.
she wasn't there for that reason. She
Right.
was fine. She wasn't fine.
But mostly it was physical. It wasn't mental.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so we did get the news our daughter is not Down syndrome. She
Okay.
all of all of that blood work came back the way you want it to come back. Came
Oh,
back
good.
good.
And at this point in time, was she still measuring on the smaller side?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And also at this point in time, because they knew she had a cardiac issue, but they weren't sure what the cardiac issue was, they obviously had to send me for a lot of ultrasounds with specialists. And I had to start seeing a pediatric cardiologist at this time.
Oh, wow. While you're only halfway through your pregnancy.
20 weeks pregnant. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
But I was at least able to tell my grandmother the good news that, you know, and
Everything's
she,
good.
it was funny because she said, I knew something was really wrong.
Oh, really? She probably
Yeah.
knows you really well. If she was practically your mom for a while, she knows you. So she was probably
Yeah.
picking.
Actually, she knew I was pregnant before I knew I was pregnant.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because, like you
She's,
said, she knew me and she could tell.
yeah,
She's like,
she's
I
got in
bet
tune with
Hannah's
you.
pregnant.
Oh.
So sweet. Oh, also at this time, the doctors had, because they weren't sure what her cardiac issue was again, they started having conversations with me about switching hospitals.
Okay.
The hospital I was delivering at did have a full NICU,
Okay.
but it wasn't connected to pediatric specialties.
Oh, okay.
So there was another hospital in the same city that was connected to a children's hospital. So all the pediatric specialties were there.
Hmm.
But they also said, we don't know how severe or not severe this is. So we might even need you to switch cities.
Oh, geez.
Yep. So we lived in Connecticut. So the choices were Philadelphia or Boston.
Okay. Which
And,
are, I don't know, how far were those from where you were living?
so Philadelphia, you have to get around New York City, which is always a crapshoot on how long that's going to take. But Boston was about 2 hours, sometimes a little less.
Okay. Yeah, that's a long ways to go for doctor's appointments and stuff.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
even if you go into labor and then you have to drive 2 hours. Oh,
Yep,
goodness.
exactly. But then they did get a good look and they said we can handle this in the hospital that I was originally planning at delivering at. So that ended up being really good. And then my grandmother's now doing cancer treatments again.
Hmm.
And this time she starts chemo, which that just sucks.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I remember I was doing everything I could to, like, I offered to shave her head, she refused.
Oh,
But she had shorter hair anyways. And
okay.
then I did get her a really nice, soft, cozy cancer cap,
Oh, nice.
which she loved. So now at this point, now we're gonna fast forward just a couple of months,
Okay.
and my grandmother is not improving.
Ugh.
And I have to start going to the doctors for just a whole lot more because they're keeping a close eye on me.
Yeah.
Okay, but now, okay, my grandmother starts getting worse
Ugh.
and things just aren't improving. And I can see that she is questioning her fight and she
Oh,
doesn't have the same hope that she had before.
oh gosh.
I decided to tell her that she didn't have to hold on just for me
Oh, Anna.
because she was so excited to meet my daughter.
Oh.
And then she did, she passed away.
Oh, really? How soon after you told her that?
9 days.
Oh my gosh. So it was like you gave her your blessing and she was like, okay, it's now my time.
I gave her my blessing. So I went to visit her after work in the nursing home, as usual. And I gave her my blessing. And then I went to visit her the next day. My mom actually called me and said, Hey, I tried to call grandma. She's not answering.
Hmm.
She said, I think the phone might be too far away from her. She said, Can you just stop in before you go to work
Hmm.
and make sure everything's okay? So I did. And when I found her, when I saw her at the nursing home, She was not the same person that I had left the night before.
Oh boy.
So she had decided to stop her fight,
Oh,
and she was not, that person I found was not my grandma.
oh,
And she did say that she had to go home because she needed to pass away at home.
oh, oh, geez.
Yep. And I am not legally her next of kin.
Right.
Now I'm at the nursing home by myself.
Oh my gosh.
I know. And trying to figure out what do I have to do next, getting the nurse to come in because she's not herself. And I'll never forget this. Her two of her best friends happened to be walking down the hallway because they were also coming to visit her.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I really needed them. I needed somebody at that point, and
Yeah.
those two ladies were there.
Oh. So did you know them well? Those
Yeah.
two? Oh.
I knew all my grandparents' friends.
Oh, good.
Uh,
Oh, so
Actually,
were,
we still keep in touch with them.
oh, good.
Yeah.
So were they able to help you out and
They were able to like be my support so
Mhm.
that I could navigate and calm me down because obviously I'm pregnant and like an emotional
Yeah,
wreck,
emotions are times 10 too.
right? And trying to hold it together
Yeah.
because I got to be strong for my grandma.
Yeah.
So, anyways, and then I was able to like call call my mom and call my aunt and be like, "Hey, we got to get this situation figured out and we got to get it figured out like today."
Yeah.
Then I went to work, and after work, of course, I went back to the nursing home, and then everybody was there
Hmm.
trying to figure out what the next steps were for getting her home,
Yeah.
which we did.
Okay. Okay. So she was able to pass it home as well.
Yeah. Yep. So then she passed at home, which
Oh.
was really hard, but that's what needed to happen at that time.
I have heard so many stories about whether it's couples or I don't know, just as these people are usually holding on until for some reason. So I just lost my grandpa a few months ago, and it
Oh,
was the
I'm
same kind of
sorry.
thing. Oh, thank you. Before he passed, he had said to the nursing home staff, "Thank you for all of your hard work. And now I just need you to take care of my wife, who's my grandma that has the dementia."
Yep.
And he passed that night. So it was like all of a sudden he felt okay finally because he'd been in the hospital for a month fighting a fight there. And then all of a sudden he was given permission basically to go because she was taken care of. So that had to be so hard for you to voluntarily give that blessing to her though too because you don't want to lose her either. I'm sure you would have loved to have had her meet your daughter.
Oh my God.
Ugh,
It is watching my daughter grow up and not being able to share it with my grandparents has been so difficult. What are you going to do?
I know. That's it's life. It doesn't make
It,
it any easier.
it does. No, it doesn't make it easy, but like you
Ugh,
said, it is life. Oh my gosh. That is so sweet of your grandpa.
I know. I when I heard that I bawled my eyes out. And I think I even made my husband cry. He doesn't cry very often. But he
Yeah.
just knew and it was okay. And I'm glad he went peacefully as well.
Yeah.
Like he felt okay. Now it's time. So
Yeah.
end of life stuff is so crazy. I don't know. I just wonder what goes through people's heads and what they're experiencing emotionally, mentally, physically, like all the
Hmm.
things, because death, I think to us young people seems so scary. And
Yeah.
but then obviously inevitable. But when you get to that old age and you've lived a long, happy life and you do just pass peacefully, I just wonder what that looks like because we don't get to talk to anybody about that experience.
Yeah. I know giving them permission it's just huge. It can be absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And
How
giving
did
them,
you decide to have that conversation? Like what you must have realized that was why she was holding on.
I knew that was why she was holding on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And I
so,
also knew my grandparents had a really wonderful marriage.
Mhm.
And I knew that she was still so heartbroken about Papa passing.
Yeah.
And I know that's why that was one of her things. I know that was going through her head. Should I go be with Papa or should I stay here and enjoy this new baby?
Oh,
Or
what?
attempt to enjoy the new baby because if you're in and out of a nursing home, your quality of life isn't
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
greatest.
Did you just say that in a conversation and it just happened organically, or did you plan to go there and be like, I'm gonna tell her this?
So the day that I told her that, my uncles were also there. They were in the room, but they had no idea what was happening
Okay.
because they were talking amongst each other.
Okay.
And I was there sitting next to my grandma and I could just see that she wasn't happy. I know she was thrilled that I was there and my uncles were there,
Oh,
but
sure. Sure.
but I could just tell that she wasn't happy and she didn't have that light that she always had.
Mm, yeah.
And I also didn't like seeing her unhappy
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
because she has always been she's always been the strong one, the rock. We called
Yeah.
her the big cookie. I don't know, you can just tell like she just seemed sad.
That was amazing of you to gift her that blessing
Yeah.
because, like I said, I'm sure you would have loved to have selfishly kept her around for forever, right?
I
Of
I
course.
would have, but I also didn't want to see her just depressed in a hospital bed.
Absolutely. Sure. So, where were you in your pregnancy at this point?
So at this point, I was 10 weeks from my due date.
Okay.
Or actually, no, I was 11 weeks from my due date at this point.
Okay. So, in your
So,
last trimester.
but it seemed like she was going to have to go another 3 months
Oh, geez.
of suffering before I had the baby.
Yeah.
And was that worth it? And was it even going to pan out at the end? And then shortly after that, the doctors started having some hard conversations with me. I had to start going to doctor's appointments 3 to 5 times a week
Oh, wow.
for monitoring because I was high risk. And they knew that my daughter had a cardiac issue. They strongly suspected what it was, but they had never confirmed it. However, everything was following that, what that condition was.
Oh, gosh.
When I say hard conversations, it was things like your baby will most likely be blue when it comes out.
Oh, my goodness.
Don't panic, we're expecting that. Also, I think it was at 33 weeks, they said, just so you know, from here on out, if you come in for an appointment and we see something that we don't like, we're taking her out that day.
Oh, my gosh.
So, it was conversations like this,
So,
preparing me for
so
anything.
what's going through your head at this point emotionally?
So I'm like struck, sorry,
Yeah.
and I'm very concerned.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I don't know, something also kept telling me that things were going to work out.
Okay. That's good.
So that was really good.
Were you able to stay pretty positive through that, even though they kept telling you all of these terrifying things?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
I don't know how I managed that, but I did.
Maybe it was a bit of a survival tactic of
Yeah,
like your body and your mind were just like, no, we can't handle anymore. So we're just going to pretend everything's okay.
exactly.
Oh, man.
So 6 weeks after she passed, I went in for my array of appointments.
Mhm.
And I remember thinking, oh man, she's really moving around a lot today. And I get in, first thing I had was an ultrasound, and they said, "Are you having contractions?" And I'm like, "I don't think so, but like the baby's moving a lot." And
Mhm.
they're like, "Oh, okay, we're gonna walk you to your next appointment."
Okay.
And I'm like, "Well, that's weird."
Yeah.
So anyway, so they walked me, and I had an NST. So if you don't know what that is, it's called a non-stress test. And they basically, you lay in a bed and they put two monitors on your belly to monitor the baby.
Okay.
So now I'm trying to nap because I'm laying in a bed and
Yeah.
I'm 35 weeks pregnant and
Yeah.
tired because I had woken up really early to go to the shipping company.
Oh my gosh. They're still doing the shipping company at this point too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then the baby's heart rate dropped to a dangerous level. The nurse came in, she started yelling. And
Oh my
next thing I
gosh.
know, my bed was surrounded
Oh
by
my gosh.
doctors. I ended up having her later that night.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was an
Unexpectedly,
emergency.
which most of the time people don't know exactly when they're having their baby, but
Exactly. But I also, having this be my first, you expect contraction, like labor contractions are going to hurt.
yeah. Yeah. And
My
you weren't
labor
feeling
at
any
this
of that.
point, early contractions don't hurt.
Okay.
You just know something's happening.
Okay.
So anyway, so she ended up being born by emergency C-section
Oh,
that
wow.
night. But I got to be awake for the emergency C-section because they knew they they were good at their jobs. They knew that was a high possibility and they convinced me to do an epidural very early. And thank God they did because
Oh, yeah.
if not they would have, I don't know if you know this, but they actually put you under.
Oh, I didn't know that. Mm-mm.
Yeah, if you have an emergency C-section that's unexpected, which is typically how it happens,
Okay.
they put you under.
Okay.
So then your baby's born and you're asleep.
Okay.
I got to avoid that. I got to be awake.
Okay. That's good.
That was really nice. Anyways, and it was crazy because even though it was a really scary day, I just knew that everything was going to be okay.
Okay. That's amazing
Sorry.
because I'm not sure
Yeah.
I would be that positive.
I don't know. Again, I don't know how, but it was a very surreal day. Nothing felt like it was real.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
Maybe it was a bit of a like mother's intuition type thing.
maybe. So, anyways, she comes out and she is smaller than expected. And she had been measured that same day
So she
in the
was even smaller
ultrasound.
than that.
She was smaller than that.
Oh my gosh.
She was under 4 pounds.
Oh wow. That's
And
tiny.
they expected her to be just over.
Oh wow.
So she did go to the NICU, but overall, she was fine. And she actually was only in the NICU for 8 days.
Okay.
And for a NICU baby, that's a really short stay.
Yeah, yeah. Especially being that small. I didn't know would they have kept her to try to get her bigger like until she
Well,
was
actually,
bigger?
so here's some fun insurance BS.
Oh,
Um,
yay.
Technically, you can't ride in a car seat until you are 4 pounds.
Mm.
So she got back up to birth weight, which remember is under 4 pounds. And the NICU said to us, she can't stay here because insurance will no longer cover her after this afternoon.
Such a racket, the whole
It
thing.
is such a racket. So we had
You
to
had
take
to
this
take
under
her.
4 pound baby home and drive her around in a car.
Oh my gosh. Was it a long drive to the hospital or
It
to
was like
home?
20 minutes.
Oh, but still, you're a brand new mom and you have this teeny tiny baby that was just in the NICU and doesn't fit in a car seat. And oh my goodness, that's a
Yep.
long 20 minutes, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, they did tell us that she wasn't allowed to like really go out in public too much and to severely limit the people we had over to meet her
Okay.
because she was so fragile.
Yeah.
We did that.
Hmm.
And then when she was 6 weeks old, she got RSV.
Oh man.
And they had, oh, sorry, let me backtrack a little bit. After she was born, they did confirm her what her heart condition was.
Okay. So she
So
did
she had,
have what they were expecting.
yep. So it was a hole in the heart that was problematic
Okay.
because you can have a hole in your heart for your whole life and never have a single issue.
Okay. But
It
this one was,
depends on like the size and the placement
okay.
as to, but hers was problematic.
Okay.
At 6 weeks old, she gets RSV.
Mhm.
And at this point, she's just over 4 pounds.
Oh,
And her heart is working overtime, and so are her lungs.
oof.
And now she has a respiratory virus.
Oh no. Also terrifying.
Incredibly. Actually, this was the hardest part. So she was, sorry guys, she was in the NICU for 2.5 weeks. I'm sorry, not a NICU. She was in a PICU, a pediatric ICU.
Okay.
But she was at a children's hospital.
Okay.
And that was like the worst time, the hardest time of mine and my husband's life by
Um,
far.
yeah.
Nothing can compare. A lot of bad things happened there. We weren't sure if she was going to make it.
Oh, wow.
It was intense. If anybody has ever been in an ICU unit or supporting a loved one, we were like literally living off the monitors. What
Yeah.
was the monitor saying? And it was very intense.
Oh, man. For 2 weeks.
Um,
Okay.
we also celebrated our 1 year anniversary.
Oh, fun. I bet that was a great celebration.
It was really great. We celebrated in the PICU.
Man. Oh,
She did come out of it, and we did. Her and I spent 4 weeks in the hospital in
okay.
total.
Okay. In total. Oh my goodness.
Now we leave the hospital and we're just so ecstatic that she has survived. We were told she's obviously incredibly fragile. Her immune system is highly compromised. And the pediatrician told me at her very first checkup after being hospitalized, if she gets RSV again, she is not going to make it.
Oh my goodness.
So now we had to quarantine her, but this was back before COVID. So like people didn't really understand,
Yeah, for sure.
and they wanted actually when we backtrack, when we left the NICU, we didn't tell too many people that we had left the NICU.
Oh, yeah.
And
That
then
way you
she
didn't
went
have to
into the
deal with it.
PICU, and a lot of our family thought that she had just been hospitalized that whole time.
Okay. Yeah.
So then she gets out of the PICU, and we didn't make a big deal out of the fact that we left, but people found out.
Yeah.
And then they wanted to come visit.
And they think they're being
No.
supportive, right? They think they're being
Yes.
loving. They think they're being supportive, but that is probably the big, like most terrifying thing to you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I remember my cousin, she wanted to come with my nieces and my nephew because she had also just had a baby.
Mhm.
And we wanted the babies to meet.
Yeah.
But she was like, "Can I come visit you? And we'll just have the girls stay downstairs." And I was like, "Hell no."
Yeah.
And so there was just a lot of situations like that. So actually, we were living like this for 4 months.
Oh, wow.
Like the baby couldn't really leave the house. We could only have certain people come over. We had to, my in-laws and my mom did babysit, but like we had to train them on medical equipment that we had for
Oh my
her.
gosh.
Yeah, because
And so you were working at this
I
time?
did, yes, I
Oh,
did work.
wow. Yeah.
I didn't work for while she was in the PICU, while she was in the hospital,
Okay.
which also was a little bit difficult for my clientele because I went out on maternity leave early.
Yeah.
Then I came back to work a little bit, but not really.
Yeah.
And then was out again because my baby was in the PICU and there was no way I was leaving that hospital.
Yeah, for sure.
And then
Yeah.
she came home and we had to now navigate how we're going to minimize exposure
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
to like the world. And at that time, they had also told us that the baby had to have open heart surgery.
Oh boy. At how old?
They told us this when we left the month-long hospital stay.
Okay.
And they told us that they wanted her to have surgery when she was 11 pounds,
Okay.
which
So
is quite a ways away because at this
yeah.
point, I don't even remember if she was 5 pounds yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she did, she had open heart surgery.
Oh, so also they couldn't isn't there like another heart surgery option where they can go up through an artery or something like that?
You have to be adult sized to have that.
Oh my goodness. But
When
so
you're,
they open heart surgery is better for
because you're
such
too
a tiny
small, the arteries
human?
are too small to go up through.
Yes, but
Adult, they
like,
can do it on adult sized arteries, but they can't do it on babies. Yeah,
oh
so
my goodness.
that's
Okay.
the option.
So she does the surgery.
She does, yeah. So we had to keep her like away from people for months, and
Mhm.
then she had open heart surgery,
Um,
which was successful.
okay, that's good.
And she had, at this point, we were in the hospital for just over a week.
Okay.
And honestly, not to minimize open heart surgery, but it was very scary and nerve wracking going into that with our little baby. And I do not
Yes.
wish that upon anybody if they
Right.
don't have to. However, that was so much easier than going through the RSV stuff.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Not that it was easy, but
Sure. Yeah, but I guess maybe you more of the outcome where with the RSV, you weren't sure what the outcome was going to be.
and they kept doing like treatments, and then they would say, oh, it's getting worse, so now we have to
Oh,
do this, and it's
yeah.
getting worse, so we have to do this, and now this is the last thing.
Yeah. But then with the surgery, it was like, okay, we're going to go in, we're going to do the surgery. She's going to heal up and come out of it. And then everything will be better after that.
Right. And also on the surgery, we were on pins and needles again, but it was only for the 8 hours that they had her scheduled to be in surgery versus
Right.
living that way for a
Days
couple of weeks.
or
Yeah.
weeks. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, now at this point, the doctors were getting ready to be discharged,
Mm-hmm.
and we're getting our instructions, assuming that we're going to have these like hefty instructions, right?
Yeah.
No, they're like, once you guys leave, you can go live a normal life.
Oh my goodness. It's a normal life at this point. Do you
Exactly.
even know what that is? Like you've been living in hell for a year. Oh,
Yeah. Oh, it was 2 years actually.
2 years. Yeah.
It was, yeah, this whole story
Oh,
took place. It was just over 2 years. So now they tell us that we can go live like a normal life with our baby. She can go to stores. She can go through the waiting room at the doctor's office because
oh.
we were using a back door. We were knocking on a back door for her pediatrician appointments. So
Yeah, you
now, like,
didn't know what normal life was going to be.
exactly. They said that we could go, we could like introduce her to family. So the first thing we did was we actually took a road trip to
Mhm.
go visit my cousin and my nieces and
Oh,
my new little nephew.
oh, yay.
Yeah. It was a short road trip. We went to like upstate New York from Connecticut.
Yeah.
That's not really that far. But yeah, it was just crazy. It was like we walked out of the hospital doors into like our new lives.
Oh, wow. So there was a huge feeling of relief at that point then.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
Oh,
It was crazy. It was crazy.
did you feel like that was like the end of that chapter then of your life? Like that 2 year chapter?
Yes.
Oh man, that had to feel like a huge weight lifted off and
It did.
oh, oh
It
man.
it was so huge. But then, came like the challenges which we were very happy, or I was very happy to take on, of navigating a new life with the baby, and also like coming out of the salon stuff, because you've done extended salon leaves
Yeah.
for traveling. You always lose clientele.
Yeah. Every time you do any type of leave, you lose at least some.
Yep. So I had lost a third to half of my
Oh, wow.
clientele.
Oh, wow.
So there was that. But honestly, my baby was alive.
Yes. Yeah.
She wasn't just alive, she was alive and well.
Yes. Oh, and it's so crazy how that stuff is such perspective, right? Had you just had, I don't know, I don't know what order I'm going to air these episodes in, but one of the girls I interviewed yesterday, we had that conversation of if you could go back, would you do it all over again? Would you change it? And it's like such a hard question, I think, because obviously you don't want to have to go through that all again, right?
Right.
Well, had you come out and had a normal pregnancy, a normal birth, a normal, take her home and all of that stuff, then, you wouldn't have appreciated those things as much and you would have a very different perspective. And not necessarily that's bad, but also these things just kind of shape who we are. And then it's so hard to think, would you give who you are now back? I don't know. It's a deep question, right? And there's so many different sides to it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you had to go through all of that.
But it's exactly like you said. We went through all that, and I wouldn't wish this on anybody. However, there's much worse things that people go through.
Yeah.
Much, much worse. I also wouldn't change any of it.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I guess I would change the parts about like Papa passing away and then Grandma passing away, because I
Right.
would love to have them. But
Right.
as far as like the baby story,
Mhm.
uh, I don't know.
That's your story.
Yeah,
That's her story.
it's her story, and we've always looked at her. She's like tiny and mighty.
I love that.
Like I can't. She's still a child, but I can't wait to see like what she goes and does. I have no idea what she's going to go at this point and do when she's an adult, but I just have this feeling that something really big is out there for her, and I'm so
Oh,
excited.
oh, I love that.
Yeah. And
Oh,
I feel like if she hadn't been through this whole journey, that is not to say that something big wouldn't be out there for her, but I just always felt like there's a reason she's here. There's a reason she's with us. I should have, I was told that I should have lost her in a miscarriage.
oh man.
And then she made it through birth, and then she made it through RSV, and then she made it through open heart surgery.
Yeah, she's a tough little cookie.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh,
So,
what a story.
yes. Oh, and then at the end of this, I found uh like Brit Siva, and I found cosmetic chemist, and then that kind of led me to where I am today and what I'm doing. It led me to meet you.
Yeah. Yeah, oh man. Yeah, it's so interesting. The way that the universe works and the way that things play out. But I think it's also really hard to acknowledge those things in the moment,
Yes.
right? When you're going through the hard stuff, it's not until after the fact that we can look back and go, oh, this is why this happened and that's why that happened. Because even with my infertility stuff, that's one of the obnoxious things that people say all the time is like, everything happens for a reason. And I just want to punch them all in the face because I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I'm still in the midst of it. And I'm like, stop it. But I'm sure that at some point when I've done the healing and I've gotten out of it a bit more, I will look back and I will find the silver linings in it for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's amazing that it takes us having to go through that stuff and get to the other side to be able to find those silver linings.
Yeah, it is crazy. And I feel like I still don't really fully know what all of the silver linings like from everything we went through
Yeah.
were, but I know that they're going to be like revealed to me as,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, as life moves on.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for you to find out what those things are when you do discover them.
I have found a few. I've been going through it long enough. I
Yeah.
do the fact that I've become more compassionate. I feel like I have a lot more empathy. I feel like those kinds of things make, again, it when I look back on it, it still makes me angry, but
Mhm. It makes
you
me angry
know,
for you as well.
yeah, thank you. Like at the same time, like there are some good things that have come out of it. It's definitely hard to recognize them all right now, but again, we will see what time brings.
Yes. Yes.
Oh man, thank you so much for all of that. And I am so sorry you had to go through all of that, but I'm so glad that you guys all came out on the other side of it. And I'm sorry about your grandparents. That's really
Oh,
tough.
thank you. The reality is they were older, and everybody passes away at some point.
Mhm.
It was just, I feel like everybody that loses a loved one feels like they wish they could have had them for a little bit longer.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it is,
for sure.
thank you. But I knew I wasn't going to have them for, you know,
Nobody ever
my
wants to
whole life.
face that fact, though.
No, no,
Oh
no.
man. Oh, thank you so much for coming on and thank you for sharing your story. And thank you for being so vulnerable because I know that's a really tough thing to do, but I appreciate you so much. And maybe we'll have you on again someday. We'll see what other chapters come along.
Sounds good.
All right, Anna, thank you so much for talking to us, and we'll see y'all on the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you enjoyed our conversation and found value in the stories shared, please consider following us on your preferred podcast platform. Your ratings and reviews make a huge difference. They help us reach more listeners and continue bringing you engaging, insightful content. We appreciate your support and would love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Until next time, keep listening, growing, and sharing.